Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of the EKN Debrief. It is episode 166. Wednesday, April the 1st, April Fool's Day. No jokes in this one here. Just a straight up debrief of the 2026 Superkarts USA Pro Tour opener. Myself, Rob Howden, and David Cole out at the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona for the WinterNationals this year. Looking forward to diving into it for you because it was a action-packed day of competition. Man, I got to clear the throat out. This week's show presented by Kart CRG USA. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. Kart CRG USA is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG USA supports dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. Check out the CRG KT5 for tag and shifter racing, the Black Beer for cadet competition, and the FS4 for Briggs. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. For more information on the CRG product line, head to kartcrgusa.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrgusa.com. Well, David, let's get things underway. Obviously, a little scratch in my throat. That's what you get for the first words you say during the day is when you start a podcast.
Well, you're supposed to be the professional, Rob.
I should have warmed things up.
Voice ready. You should have done all your voice exercises. Yeah. You know, but it's probably because you're not used to announcing for 2 days straight.
I just started sipping a tea.
Well, there you go. See, you forgot to announce.
There we go.
It's been a while.
Better.
Sure.
You're doing the heavy lifting. Well, no, I was going to say you're not doing the heavy lifting. I was actually trackside for this one. Yeah, so the Pro Tour is underway. WinterNationals out at Musselman Honda Circuit. The official date, March 27th to 29th. First two rounds of a six-round championship for all but one of the categories. As you know, with the SCUSA Pro Show, the Pro Shifter drivers will run just one main event per weekend, so 3 rounds in total for the Pro Shifter drivers. They do the couple of heats, pre-final and final on Sunday. David's 17th edition of the championship. We talked a lot, Xander and I and Caleb, throughout the Kart Chaser broadcast. You and I talked about it a lot. Thinking back to 2010 when the whole thing started at Sonoma Raceway, and then really the trips to Tucson, Musselman Honda Circuit were very early on in the schedule, 2011 and 2013.
Yeah, those were the spring national events before there was even a Winter Nationals program. So Tucson has hosted the opening round now 3 times. For the SCUSA Pro Tour, you know, as you said, 2011 and 2013. And again, those were spring nationals because at that time, spring nationals, summer nationals, and the super nationals made up the Pro Tour. So it was quite a different format. Again, still 2 rounds of racing as it was for the majority of the classes this past weekend. It was that same way back then. Quite a different engine platform. Tag was the platform for the categories with featuring multiple engine brands. So I think even back then the Cadet was just Rock at the time, if I recall correctly. Yeah. So
I think there was only Mini Rock. I don't think the Micro Rock ran at that point.
Yeah, it was only Tag Cadet, and at that time Tag Cadet meant it was a spec engine, so which was the Rock up until I think 2014 was when it went all IAME. So
we were throwing out the some of the engines that were available in the Tag program back then too, right? Obviously the Leopard, IAME Leopard, the Rock TT, the Sonic, the Rotax. What else were we missing?
Motori 7 was popular in the Tag Masters guys, not a little bit so in the senior. But yeah, it was definitely quite an interesting time in our sport where, Tag was really booming because we thought that was going to be the influx of new racers, right?
Yep. Yeah, touch and go, right?
Touch and go, right?
And it opened it up for the whole industry. That was the other big thing as well. Is as you look kind of at the landscape of karting right now, there's so many one-make series. That Tag program, because of a guy named Tom Argy, kind of brought that over and allowed a lot of different Italian engine manufacturers to come to play, balancing things off with weight and the actual engine itself. So, yeah, those were interesting times. We don't need to go too deep down the rabbit hole because 2013 was kind of the change of everything at Musselman Honda Circuit when the Rotax engines showed up as the fastest thing by a second than anybody, and that kind of changed things right there. But again, like that's another one to unpack in a history story for sure. David, let's talk about the weather first, because I know you were there the week before at the Rotax America's Trophy. Temps in the high 90s, low 100s. A cooler weekend, thankfully, but man, the track got hit with strong winds over Friday evening and through most of Saturday.
Yeah, that was a big factor. Certainly was the wind on Saturday. It actually made things a lot colder than what was the ambient temperature forecasted for. So we got there and it was like we needed jackets and people were wearing hoodies and stuff like that. So it was quite different from the weekend before, where it was 103 degrees every single day. So it changed the track conditions as well too. You had a number of categories that weren't at normal pace, because the wind was actually coming from the east, which was strange. We're typically used to it coming from the west, as it normally is. Pretty much everywhere you are. And so we'd get that dust coming in from the west, where this time it was just hard winds coming from the east and would affect drivers going through the S's, drivers going up into turn 4, coming out of turn 1. So quite different conditions compared to what everybody had Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, overcast on Sunday as well. It did cool off a little bit into the high 80s, which was nice. Overall, David, let's have a look at the numbers. 259, is that what you came with the final number?
259.
Wow.
What?
No, I thought that was the number that we had in the outlap. I was surprised there's no change at all. Normally,
there was like a removal of a couple in one class and then a couple of walk-ups on others. So
that's funny. Yeah, never usually have exactly the same number.
Yeah.
259 entries. So the second largest. Is it the second largest Pro Tour event ever? No.
Second largest WinterNationals.
WinterNationals for sure. What about Pro Tour?
No.
There you go. So 305 last year at the WinterNationals, 257 in 2024. So a couple up. One of the things everybody was looking at was the significantly smaller mini Swift category. In fact, half the size. 44 drivers last year, only 22 this time around. A drop of 7 in micro Swift at 24. So all told, 46 cadet drivers. Drop of 16 in the X30 junior class at 30. Drop of 15 in KA Junior at 30, but add in 18 KA Masters because there was none last year. We didn't have a KA Masters category. 18 is strong for a group for the KA Masters. 47, so up 1 for KA Senior. And I think the biggest one, David, was a massive Pro Shifter category. 46 drivers in Pro Shifter, the largest group of Pro Shifters in Pro Tour history.
Yeah, just by one. We had 45 there at the opening or the Newcastle round Summer Nationals last year. So that it beat it by one. It was 47 when we went to the racetrack, but there was one that was removed. So 46 is the magic number now. I've got to assume we'll get 47 at Newcastle, maybe one more. Who knows what they'll do for numbers there. Again, because it's such a bigger racetrack, maybe they'll open it up to 50 and just make it 50 for the cutoff there. So, great. Both pro categories over the 40 mark. So that's 88 essentially pro drivers on the weekend.
Yeah, pretty impressive for sure. Not bad. 250-59. Great way to start the season. That also is a great way to start this episode of the EKN Debrief. Again, brought to you by Kart CRG USA. After this break, when we get back, David, we'll dive into the Paddock Pass. History, success, family. Those are the 3 words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other two-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today.
Do you want to become a professional race car driver? Are you ready to take your first steps into car racing? If so, Allenberg Racing School is the ideal place for you to make that happen. And as a bonus, our school is located at everyone's bucket list track, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. From your first steps in a Formula car, all the way to racing in the USF Pro Championships and the USF Junior Series, it's all part of our program at Allenberg Racing Schools and our competition operation, Berg Racing. At Allenberg Racing Schools, you'll learn from a former Formula One driver and will be driving a full-on carbon fiber tub Caddis race car with aerodynamic wings and racing slicks. Not an old technology tube frame car. You'll get more track time per day than at any other school, and our 3-day and advanced programs will have you prepared to race competitively with our Bird Racing program, which participates in both the Ligier JFC Championship and the USF Junior Championship. To learn more, check us out online at allenbergracingschools.com. Be a racer.
Welcome back to episode 66 of the EKN Debrief. It's myself, Rob Howard, and David Cole, diving into all the action from this past weekend Superkarts USA Pro Tour Winter Nationals out in Tucson, Arizona. The Pro Tour now underway. Trackside on Friday. David, of course, giving us all his paddock insider information. We call it the Paddock Pass here on the show. Today, brought to you by AIM Sports. From its early days, AIM Sports has tailored its innovations to provide precise insights, allowing racers to fine-tune their strategies and push their limits. Fast forward to today, and they are excited to celebrate over 30 years of Micron by introducing the latest evolution in karting data loggers, the Micron 6. Designed with cutting-edge features, including a 25 Hz GPS with mil-spec precision, a 6-axis inertial platform, shift lights and alarms, temperature inputs, and many more features. It's perfect for karting enthusiasts looking to enhance their game on the track. Join the AIM Sports community today and equip yourself with the Micron 6 to take your karting experience to the next level. Visit aimsports.com to learn more. AIM Sports, 30 years of Micron. All right, David, let's just, we kind of chatted about it already, but let's talk about the return of SCUSA to Tucson.
Yeah, again, 2011 and 2013 were the last editions of the Superkarts USA going to Tucson for the Pro Tour. I kind of did a kind of look back at the 2013 event, and there were, ironically, what did I come up with the number? 12 drivers who raced in the 2013 edition were actually there, either racing the event or part of the event that was taking place this past weekend. I think only 2 of them were non-drivers. So you like a driver like Matt Johnson, who was one of the elder Tag Senior drivers back then. He's now got his own race team with Axis Kart Sport. Dalton Ager was an S2 racer back then and is now a SCUSA official. So those were 2 of the names. Another one, Sonny Cervelli, a Tag Junior driver at the time, is now a team manager at GFC Karting. So that was fun to kind of go over. We talked to some of the drivers like Billy Musgrave, Phil DeLeo, who was a Tag Senior driver, now a K Master driver. Actually, for Musgrave, it was his first ever S1 race. He was an S2 driver in 2012, won the Super Nationals, moved up to S1. So it was his S1 Pro Shifter debut in 2013. So that's a pretty stout career dating back 13 years ago of pro shifter racing for him, for sure. So drivers like Oliver Calvo was a Tag Cadet driver at the time. He just now launched his own race team operation this past weekend. Bailey Murphy was a Tag Senior driver, made his K Master debut. Jake Craig, a driver who was racing Tag Senior back then, returning back to race in the Pro X30 division as well. So a lot of great stories and kind of to oversee that from the last time that Superkarts USA was there. And it also marked the first time that SCUSA was back on the west of the Central Time Zone since 2023, when they were at the Utah Motorsports campus. So it has been a while since Superkarts USA was on the western half of the country.
Yeah, no doubt about it. One of the things obviously to watch as well, as we always do, essentially the first official round of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. Yes, many drivers got underway with SCUSA Racing at the Winter Series in Texas in January and February. But David, kind of watching where new people are going, drivers moving around. A lot of the times in the pro shifter category, there are a number of drivers for hire. They find themselves at different race teams. One of the top drivers we've seen over many years, finding a new home for 2026 as well.
Yeah, Martin Kremers, a two-time Superkarts USA Pro Tour champion, a multi-time runner-up at the SuperNationals, made his debut with Maranello Kart USA and Carblos Racing Engines, a new partnership. We saw Kremers racing with the Tony Kart factory team over the last 2 years. Didn't see much of him behind the wheel here in the USA. He did run the SuperNationals last year in the KA Senior category under the Rollison Performance Group tent. We pretty much saw him as driver coach for much of the last 2 years. And so now with that partnership dissolved, he's kind of on his own out kind of as a privateer here
Play
and
in the
there.
field.
He's still doing a lot of driver coaching around the world. I think he's kind of like a free agent, as you will, around the world. But here in the U.S., Carblos Racing Engines signed him up to drive in a Maranello kart for the full Pro Tour season, and so it was a unique scenario to see him in a kart of that color. And then Carblos debuted their new graphics kit that they're running this year with a number of different drivers in the Pro Shifter category as well. So. Talking with him, he kind of felt at home. He said it was very similar to the Burrell Art brand. So it was something that suited his driving style well. And he was happy with the power plant that Carblos has been able to provide. So as we've seen over the last 2 years, the Carblos brand picking up victories on the Pro Tour for sure. Yeah,
expect Kremers to be right in the middle of the fight. We'll talk a lot about him when we get into the race report after this next break. One of the primary talking points on the weekend, David, was Superkarts USA's move to remove the pushback bumper from a certain number of categories. That was one of the obviously big things this weekend. We are all kind of watching those starts, but again, a big talking point on the weekend.
Yeah, Pro X30. X30 Junior and KA100 Master were the three divisions that were implemented with the no pushback rule. Going around the paddock, it was interesting to kind of see in the scale line as well to see how drivers were addressing this. Many who kept the pushback bumper system on their nose cones featured like the Performance Karting Technologies pushback bumper stop blocks to avoid the nose cone getting pushed in when it's engaged. Some went to the standard setup that you've seen before, and some just ran it with the pushback as is without any blocks. So it's quite interesting. One thing I know that we did become aware of is the OTK noses. If you did run the normal standard mounting system, it brought the nose in closer to the front tire, which wasn't necessarily a good thing depending on contact or this and that. So thus we saw a lot of the OTK brands using the pushback with the block inserted or just no block whatsoever. Even some teams, I believe GFC was one of them, and some others utilized older noses because of the way everything was designed. Again, it's designed around the pushback system. And so they went with some of the older noses. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this evolves. I can't imagine the number of older products that are still out and available. So that's quite interesting. But yeah, you look. I think Pearland was the one I looked at that had plenty of space between the nose cone and the tire with the normal mounting system. So I think I wasn't quite able to catch any of the other ones. But again, that's something to factor in. And that's something, until it was brought up to my attention, I didn't even think about was the design of these nose cones are based around the pushback system. So exactly, yeah. If that system is not in place, it does change the dynamics of the front area.
Yeah, indeed. All right, lots going on as we set up for trackside. So that is your Paddock Pass, brought to you by AIM Sports. Off to another quick break. When we get back, time to dive into the race report, which will be presented this week by Parolin USA. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 chassis with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and the Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the rookie, junior, senior, heavy, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the season include the Ignite Majors that begin with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week, running in both the sprint and road racing events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, featuring 5 iconic facilities. Local club programs have also been established in states all across the country, Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program. Be part of fast, fun, and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite Kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and onto the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. Left without a mechanic or a crew to help you at the kart track or in the garage? Kartlift Kart Stands is your solution. The company, founded in 2003, is now owned and operated by Ted Fashing out of Cokato, Minnesota, and Ted has decades of knowledge and experience with fabrication. Kartlift takes pride in both our quality and our personal customer service that we provide on the phone or at the track. Kartlift Kart Stands can be found at racetracks all over the country. If you race alone, or if you're a parent with a cadet or junior driver, let our one-man winch lift make your race days easier. Position the hooks under the rear bumper, push the button, and your cart is raised into position and you're ready to go. We also have Kartlift stackers for storing 2 carts at once, traditional kart stands, single and double upright storage stands, tire changers, and skid plate kits. Race teams and shops can contact us about our state-of-the-art chassis straightening table. If you have an idea for a custom stand, Kartlift can build it for you. All products from Kartlift are made in the USA. Kartlift kart stands are available at many kart shops around the country, or you can order online at kartlift.com. For more information, give us a call at 877-777-8020. That's 877-777-8020. Get a Kartlift today. Back at it here on the EKN Debrief, capping off our EKN trackside coverage of the opening round of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour, the WinterNationals at Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Let's dive now into the race report and get things underway. Today's report brought to you by Parolin USA. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products. The brand is rich in history and success, dating back to the early 1990s throughout Europe. Today, Parolin is among the winningest brands in the USA and around the world. Karters can head to the ParolinUSA.com website, where the entire chassis line and parts lineup are available to you, with shipping available all across North America within 48 hours. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. All right, David, let's go to Pro Shifter, presented by PSL Karting. Here's the headline. We'll start filling in the news after that. Morgado runs away with first WinterNationals triumph.
Quite a interesting 2 days of racing and qualifying for the Pro Shifter category. A number of different names were in the mix. There's definitely not a dominating performance throughout the weekend, but we did see that in the main event. So we'll get to that later. As we do know, the Pro Shifter category is a 1-round program. They run 2 separate qualifying sessions. So they'll run the even carts that were based on the order of happy hour, and the odd carts in a second group, and they'll take the top 6 from both those groups and put them together for the Super Pole session, which is where we saw Mateus Morgado, the former SCUSA Pro Tour champion, come away with a fast time, which he wasn't in either of the sessions. It was Martin Kramers in the odd session, and Corinthian Rousseau in the even session, he actually had the quickest lap of the two groups, a 47.212. Morgado was able to put down a 47.241 in a green-white checkered format on a second session of the same tires. So again, they were the more consistent pace for the two groups or the two sessions that were run. Kremers was second, Kyle Wick third, Adrian Renaudin in fourth, and then Jay Irwin in the fifth position. Rob, the heat races, a little bit of excitement there for both of the starts in both Heat 1 and Heat 2 with Morgado on the pole.
Yeah. You go P1 in the Super Pole, you figure you're going to be able to rock it off the line. And of course, the line, inside line to turn number one means you're on the actual racing line. So the advantageous grip level, supposed from the inside. But yeah, Morgado got off the line in the opening corner and locked the brake up coming in and blew right past the apex. A number of drivers were able to slide through, and issues again in the opening corner for Morgado in heat race number 2. So very surprising to see Morgado make a couple of mistakes there. The big one caught us off guard in the opening heat race where he shot right on through. If I'm not mistaken, I think Kremers was able to blast for the lead in both of those races coming out of turn number 2.
Yeah, and eventually Jay Irwin came through and from the fifth spot and pulled out the win in heat number 1 over Kremers with Adrian Renaudin there in the third spot. In the second heat race, it was Kyle Wick that was the driver on the move. He came his way, moved his way forward, was able to kind of outrun Kremers with Irwin only able to get up into the third spot.
Kyle was a beast in that second heat race.
Yeah, it was like they found something, or it was a better machine later in the day because their heat 2 was essentially about the midway through the main events on Saturday. So they definitely had the pace in the twilight or the late afternoon hours for that GFC machine in a quick 10 lap period. But again, I think he was part of the Morgado situation where when he went off, maybe he went off the same way as well too. So I didn't see that opening round heat race start. I was too busy taking video, so it's tough to see everything that unfolds there. So Irwin and Wick picking up the two wins in the heat racers. Kremers with his 2 runner-ups earned the pole position with a tiebreaker over Jay Irwin. So they were on the front row. Kyle Wick and Adrian Renaudin in row 2, and then Danny Formel starting in the 5th spot for the pre-final, which was run Saturday or Sunday morning as the first pre-final of the day after the other categories had their qualifying session. Not quite warm. It was warming up, I think, at that time. Sun was out, so we didn't quite have that overcast yet. And it was 14 laps on most, I believe, all the drivers on the tires from Saturday. So it was quite a unique session. And Irwin, as we saw in heat number 1, had the pace. Like he bolted away, was able to get away from the P2 fight that involved Kremers, Formal, and eventually Billy Musgrave, who was probably the quickest kart on the racetrack at the time. Do you recall that?
Indeed, I think so. Yes.
I think he was kind of hanging back as Kremers and Formal kept going back and forth, while Musgrave kind of just sat back and was like, I'm 4th. I don't need to ruin this momentum.
He looked
they had
very much in control. Right. Again, I expect him to make a move, but like you said, Kremers and Formal were fairly aggressive. It was good to watch. Yeah.
So Irwin, Kremers, Formal, Musgrave, Kyle Wick, and Morgado. Irwin, Kremers, Formal, Musgrave, and Morgado were the pre-final results. So we had very similar after all the points were tabulated with the heat races. Very similar grid with Irwin, Kremers, Formal, Musgrave, Wick, and Morgado making up the 3 rows. In the main event, Irwin did not get off the line from that pole position. Actually got slammed from behind from Formal, who expected him to take off. He didn't. So they kind of bogged up at the launch when the green flag waved. Kremers was able to pull out to the lead early. Essentially was leading, got challenged early by both Musgrave and eventually Morgado, who made his way up from the 6th spot. And Morgado quickly disposed of those drivers, getting to the lead early and just rocketed away.
I
mean, there's not much more to say other than that.
Well, I think a lot of it was because Kremers was running second, and talking to him afterwards, right? That's all he had. Like he had to essentially go on defense. There just wasn't, it just didn't have enough there. So it was the battle for second got super aggressive, and as soon as it did, right, Morgado was gone. Especially at that racetrack, when the minute Kremer started to cover off a couple of the inside lines in 4, coming down, covering a little more down into turn number 11, it really allowed Morgado to pull away. Just no challenge whatsoever.
Yeah, as a P2 fight went on, he pulled away, and eventually it was Adrian Renaudin who came through. It was Formal for much of the time.
Yep.
I don't think Irwin was ever into the second spot. I think he was trying to make his way, his way back forward after that the bad start.
Yep.
Never quite got into it. So Renaudin got in.
He got to third. Remember, he got to third, and then Formal got him on an over/under in turn 4 on the final lap, I believe.
Yeah. So again, Irwin had, I think, the pace. It just that terrible start, I think, cost him a chance at at one of the top 2 positions. But either way, it was Morgado pulling away on his Sodi kart for Velocity Racing to a 5-second margin of victory for his first WinterNationals victory in the category, but his second career, as he is a former Pro X30 winner at the at the WinterNationals, winning back in 2023 in Orlando Kart Center.
Yeah, so Morgado, Renaudin, and Formal on the podium. Irwin, like we said, had the podium spot, but I just think overcooked it a little bit, trying to get down into 4, covering off the bottom. Formal did the over-under to grab that spot away from him. Billy Musgrave was right there the entire day, just didn't quite have it. Thought he might have missed a little bit of something and didn't quite have what he needed. Still P5 for him. Kyle Wick coming home in the 6th spot. Hunter Pickett in 7th. Kremers battled as hard as he could throughout the race, ended up in 8th spot. A really strong run for Massimo Valiente coming home into the 9th spot, and Justin White, David, rounding out the top 10, putting 2 Maranello drivers in the top 10 as well.
Yeah, a pretty solid top 10. That was a pretty impressive run for Pickett. He never was really quite there all weekend long. In main event time, he certainly stepped up, picked up the pace. I feel like Wick had something missing as well, too, because he showed so well in the heat races. Not so well in the pre-final. So maybe they went the wrong direction. Who knows? I didn't quite get a chance to talk with them. But as you said, I talked with Musgrave. They just went the wrong direction. They should have went one way and went the other. He felt his kart on Friday was probably better then, and they probably should have went back to that direction. So quite interesting scenario. Yeah, impressive runs for Valiante and White. White, a former SCUSA Winter Series champion or winner. Impressive top 10 for a field that we did have there.
Yeah, awesome to watch. Some great racing all the way through the field. A lot of privateers there as well. But yeah, and indeed, Morgado out to a very solid start to the season for sure. The Sodi Kart 1-2, big for Velocity Racing as well. And Sodi Kart kind of, Dave, continuing that success they've had in the first months of the year, Q1, with all their success over the WSK Master Series as well. They get the Pro Tour off with a 1-2, all told. Pretty solid start for that French manufacturer.
Yeah, and for Renaudin, it was his first Pro Tour podium. He's the EKN driver, number 1 driver in our standings, but did not have a Pro Tour podium in his 3 starts last year. So
amazing.
Certainly the other events that he did here in the U.S., along with the Supernationals performance as well, put him in the number 1 position. As we saw last year, it was kind of chaotic. 3 different winners, none of them in the championship chase. If you include Formal, Josh Conker, and Gavin Bailiff, all having issues or not racing, as we saw with Formal.
Yep.
Which again, that's another impressive story. He hasn't raced since last year's Summer Nationals that he won in a shifter kart. So to go however many months and to be right there, I think he talked about it in the interview. Wasn't quite conditioned for the 25 laps that they did run.
I was going to say the interview that he had. I think he chatted with Xander, and yeah, he goes, I'm out of shape. He just listen. He's got to get himself into car shape, right? There's a weight he's got to get down to. He said he's lost a bunch of weight, as we all know. He's super lean for that car side because he's such a tall guy. Doesn't play out that well in the 125 shifter, and 100% said that he was a little off in terms of the conditioning. He's got time to get himself back into shape. But yeah, hey, listen, just a testament of what it takes physically to be at the top of the game in a shifter kart as well.
Yeah, I mean, Morgado is that he's a world champion in single speed. He's won Pro Tour championship. It's there. And then you look at a driver like Renaudin, who's a little bit of the older age range there, a veteran in the shifter ranks. And so, yeah, it does take that. And, you see the difference. Like Irwin seems to be on the top of his game, and just that little mistake cost you that. Otherwise, he would have been right there as well, too. And Kremers has been out of the seat as well, too. So I don't think he was quite as unconditioned as Formal was maybe. But again, it's still every little bit. And especially like we talk about with Tucson, it's not a very challenging racetrack, but one little mistake can cost you big.
Very true. Yeah. All right, let's go to Pro X30 presented by Nash Motorsports. Here's the headline. Turney doubles up in first visit to Tucson.
Quite a phenomenal performance for the British driver who is set to run a full SCUSA Pro Tour in 2026. He opened up the weekend with a 49.692 in qualifying, but got challenged by SCUSA Winter Series winner Paulie Massimino, who was able to take the pre-final win ahead of him, with Oliver Hodgson there in the third spot. And it was actually the top six all within a second. So it was quite a little battle we had in the pre-final with Massimino coming away with the victory. At the start of the main event, one of the big notes of the start was Gus Lawrence, who was right there in the top five, fell all the way back to 23rd after getting shuffled off outside the line in turn one, got shuffled all the way back to the 23rd position. But we kept watching him as the race went on, because throughout the race, it was just lots of contact within the top 10. A lot of different drivers making lower percentage moves. Let's just say that. Yep. We saw some drivers getting very defensive early, drivers making hard contact, especially in turn 11, where we saw a number of drivers go off there. Turn 4, I think, was another section that we saw a lot of contact. All of this allowed eventually Paulie Massimino to get away. And with Turney getting shuffled back a little bit early at the start, he got himself back into the second spot and was able to run down the BJ, Brandon Jarzakak Racing driver. So it was those two drivers out front. Turney was able to take over the lead, and Massimino went after him on the last lap. It was actually a great move, kind of the over-under move. Turney tried to slam the door in turn 12, the last corner. Massimino went over the curb, made contact with Turney's side, but both continued on. But the momentum was on Turney's side as he was able to cross the line first, picking up the first win for round one.
Yeah, big race for Joe for sure. Paulie almost made it work. It was wild to call because he did that nice. They kind of over under and just threw it up the inside. I was like, this is either going to be a Turney win or it's going to get messy. And Massimino, obviously pinched coming off, got on the curb. It didn't just literally drive over top of Joe. And that's why, before they even got to turn one, they were already shaking hands. So a great run for them for sure. A tenth of a second at the line for Turney getting that win. Massimino, very strong overall on the weekend. We'll talk a lot about Paulie throughout the remainder of the show here. Gus Lawrence, David, you kind of set it up perfectly all the way down to 23rd in the opening lap. How about a drive back to P3?
Yeah, he definitely benefited from some of the contact and the aggressive racing that we did see, but he was one of the quickest drivers on the racetrack. I believe he did get fast lap of the race, but I didn't quite open up the results in time. But yeah, just an impressive performance. Certainly showed he was going to have the pace to be able to contend for Sunday.
Great run for Davin Roberts coming up into the fourth position, and such a stacked field. Alexander Vanchev was kind of there as well for the entire race, fourth, fifth on back. Vanchev ends up wrapping up the top five.
Yeah, fast lap for Gus Lawrence in the Saturday main event by nearly a full tenth of a second.
Moving into Sunday's action, Joe Turney picked up where he left off on Saturday, a 49.723 to go P1. He then, David, would win the pre-final as well. We didn't talk at all about Oliver Hodgson in day number one, but he was very, very quick on the weekend. Oliver in that factory kart machine was second in the pre-final.
Actually, yeah, I forgot to put that in my notes, Rob. Hodgson was actually the third place finisher on Saturday. Contact involving, I think it was Diego Ramos, hit his radiator. He lost all the water in his machine. The engine continued on to the 22 lap distance. Unfortunately, with the loss of the water weight, came in just under the minimum weight, so it was a DQ for minimum weight. So did finish third on racetrack, but was disqualified for the minimum weight. So
tough, isn't it? So tough.
Yeah, again, but just that tells you a lot about the IAME power. If it can keep going without the water, and it wasn't necessary. Yes, it was windy day, so maybe the wind kept it cool. I don't know, but yeah, to be able to power through and not seize throughout the race was pretty great.
Yeah, you wonder how, like as you said, there was a lot of action down in turn number 11, and that's when there was some contact that a driver came over and just got side of him, and the wheel Ramos's right rear up and on top of Hodgson. Didn't totally clear out the radiator, but knocked it enough and knocked off one of the hoses. And yeah, so I'm surprised that he was able to get to the end as well once I saw it in the scales when they had the camera on it. But yeah, he was back at it again, David, in the pre-final all day, actually, on Sunday. Was second in the pre-final. Sean Butcher, who had a rough day as well as Saturday, able to go P3.
It was actually 4 British drivers up front, Rob, if you count Oliver Hodgson, including the pre-final. So Turney, Hodgson, Butcher, and Gus Lawrence were the 4 drivers at the front of the pre-final. They essentially were the leaders of the pack in the main event. They had a little bit of some drivers coming in. I think Jake Drew was one of them that tried to break up the pack. He eventually fell back. But yeah, those were the 4 drivers up front, and they kind of shuffled lap after lap. It wasn't like they stayed in tow. They were kind of sizing each other up. Talking with Joe Turney after the race, he felt like he could get up front, but then they'd come right back at him. And so it was him into the lead, Butcher into the lead, Lawrence in the lead. I don't think Hodgson ever got into the lead.
I don't think so either.
It was right there, kind of buying his time. But eventually, towards the end of the race, Turney got into the lead, and late in the race, was able to finally get that pace, that late race pace, and put down the quickest laps of his personal best in the last few laps to be able to pull out to a 4/10 margin as Turney celebrated a sweep on the day and a second victory on the weekend.
Yeah, Turney was just a little bit better, to be honest. And one of the areas was coming out of the S's, right? Out of turn 9 to get that run out there, then down the straightaway. And you could see that Butcher maybe would be able to get close, coming into turn 4, was kind of with them coming through 5, but Turney would stretch a little bit coming into the S's and then more on the end of the S's as well. He's just a little bit better through the S's and the exit, and allowed him to, be able to run a full racing line when they got down to turn 11. He didn't have to cover off the bottom at all to do any kind of defense on Butcher. And again, like you said, came away with a 0.4 of a second victory. All British, essentially, top 4 with Turney, Butcher, Lawrence, and Hodgson, although Hodgson now living obviously in Arizona. All British top 4, very impressive. And you know who else was impressive? Macy Williams, P5 from 15th on the grid, rocketed her way forward, and was eventually able to pull away from those drivers running 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, great run from the 15th starting position. Something we saw last weekend in the road tax weekend. She was quick here this weekend. I think she was in the mix on Saturday, just things didn't unfold her way. But a great weekend with the Speed Concepts racing team.
I think will consider, I talked to her after, will consider potentially seeing if she can't run maybe the Spring Nats, but she's moved to Indiana, David. She's actually running asphalt sprint cars and may get into some midget racing as well this year. So I think that's badass. I love it.
Maybe they found a replacement for Garrison.
Maybe
under the Speed Concepts racing tent.
Oh, there you go. Macy looked very impressive for sure. P5. So other notes, David, Paulie Massimino. Let's talk about him because again, he had a good run to second on Saturday. Got shuffled way down early on Sunday and had to fight his way back forward.
Yeah, unfortunate start for him. Very similar to what we saw with Gus Lawrence on Saturday. He got down all the way to 22nd. Was able to put in a run back up into the top 10, finishing 8th. In the main event. I don't know why I put 10th, but finished 8th with fast lap of the race. Was able to get by Kaminsky and Drew there late in the race. Hey,
listen, if he's fighting for a championship by the time we get to Sunday at the Summer Nationals, you can look back to this particular run, right? This could still be a drop at 8th. If it's a drop at 8th, this means he's got 5 other really good finishes. But if 8th is what he has to use, he'll be thinking about that great run from deeper in the field.
Yeah, and stole fast lap points because I believe that's 10 points in the main event for for Superkarts USA. I was trying to get the points open, but didn't get it in time.
Well, we'll go to a quick break, Dave. On the other side, if you want to have a look at it, we'll figure it out. After another quick break, as we said, we get back. We'll come and give you more of the race report presented by Parolin USA. There is no event in the world of karting like the Quincy Grand Prix. Trader, Evans, Pruitt, Haddock, McMurray. The Quincy Grand Prix has produced many legends of the sport. The 37th edition of the Quincy Grand Prix is set to tackle the beautiful 1.2-mile circuit set out inside South Park in Quincy, Illinois. Be part of the action on June 27 and 28 with this year's weekend presented by Robert and Phillips, attorneys at law. The race course will be lined by 10,000 spectators, all set to take in 2 days of racing, featuring categories for Vintage, Briggs 206, Ignite, 100cc 2-cycle, and shifter karts. Several special activities will take place over the weekend, on and off the track, with karting as the headline show. Saturday features are followed by the championship main events on Sunday, including the 3 pro categories with $1,000 going to the winner. Registration is now open, so don't wait. Enter now at quincygrandprix.com and become legendary. We'll see you at the park. Motor mounts. They keep your engine attached to your chassis, right? The answer is they're much more important than that. Your motor mount is critical in transferring 100% of the power from your engine through to your tires and the racetrack. You need this to get on the podium each and every time you race. Odenthal Racing Products is here for you, providing the best motor mounts on the karting market today, all designed to make sure you're using all the horsepower you pay for. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience in providing products with unmatched quality and value for our racing community. The Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, which is available in 0, 5, and 8-degree inclinations, provides a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a minimum without adding too much weight to your setup. The 4-cycle Easy Set system is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, our ORP wedge clamps get the job done, and they feature a number of design updates to provide a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro style sizes. And now, Odenthal has also revolutionized the karting industry with its new Easy GP camera mounting system. Designed to mount anywhere on your chassis with 1 or 2 cameras, the ORP Easy GP camera mount is your solution to capture that onboard winning moment. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, proudly made in the USA. Back at it for the debrief, capping off our coverage of the Superkarts USA WinterNationals, the Pro Tour opener in Tucson, Arizona. We'll continue here with the race report presented by Parolin USA. David, did you have a chance to look at the points?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 10 laps, 10 points for fast lap. And
that's huge. That is huge for Massimino.
Yeah.
Good stuff for him. Let's go to KA100 Senior, presented by Kart CRG USA. More Paulie Massimino talk here, because here is the headline. Massimino and Moya spoil or share the victories? Spoil.
Well, I say spoil because they're double duty. They're double duty drivers. They are essentially the pro drivers coming in and spoiling the action for the KA100 Senior driver.
That's your theme. All right. Massimino and Moya spoil with victories.
Yes, because that was kind of the story, was the double duty drivers were the lead of the pack in the KA100 Senior division. Yeah. So that was, you look at all the names we're going to talk about that won or were at the top in each session, all X30 drivers. So I could have said that X30, or I could have said pro drivers spoil with victories, including Massimino.
I would have understood that then. That would have been better.
I like shorter titles though.
Massimino did qualify on the pole, 52.121. In the pre-final, Diego Ramos able to get to the front of that one. Caden McQueen in second, Massimino in third. David, kind of a breakaway early, though, in the main event there for KA 100 Senior.
Yeah, included Ramos, McQueen, Massimino, and Chase Hand, the lone KA 100 Senior only driver there in the mix for the top spot. Massimino led the majority of the race, but McQueen took over, leading at the white flag. But Massimino was able to get by on the last lap. I guess a somewhat controversial move. I didn't see the move, but McQueen wasn't quite happy with it after the race. But either way, Massimino was able to grab the lead on that last lap and was able to score the victory, his first WinterNationals triumph in the K100 Senior Division.
Where was the pass again?
I believe it was turn 4, going turn 4, turn 5, I believe. Probably a defensive move, and I think Massimino might have got into the back of him a little bit or something like that. But it seems like, yeah, I'm just going by what I was told.
Yeah. I'm trying to recall it from the coverage, and for some reason I just can't.
Well, I mean, there's 15 different main events, so it's tough to remember that. Yeah. Sure. So again, we should only have 8 main events, but that's my own story.
David dropping one in there.
So yes, Paulie Massimino with his first WinterNationals victory in the category.
Yeah. So McQueen ends up in second, Ramos in third, Chase Hand in fourth. It was actually 2 GFCs to cap off the top 5. Matthew Cagle, very impressive on the weekend. David was P5 as well, but got DQ'd in tech. You got that note for that?
Yeah, I believe that was a carb issue in tech. So
that moved Dean Peterson up into the P5 position. So all told, again, the drivers that were KA only, Chase Hand leading the way there in that 4th position, leaning into David's title there. We'll stay with that theme. Qualifying again, Paulie Massimino came right back at it again, 51.863 qualifying on Sunday morning. McQueen was right in the hunt again. He ends up winning the pre-final, and it was also the debut of Ruben Moya on the weekend, the driver for Forward Direction Motorsports on the Pantano. Dave, do you want to give us the insight on to why he wasn't around on Saturday?
Yeah, Friday during, I believe it was KA 100 Senior practice session, there was some contact between he and Dean Peterson after the checkered flag resulted in Peterson going off the racetrack. Moya was sent to the steward's room where they benched him for not only all of Friday, but in both categories on Saturday as well. So a very harsh penalty for after the checkered flag contact in a practice session, which I got to agree with. Anything after the checkered flag is very, very, very naughty. I don't agree with that. I don't mind a little bit of contact in the practice in the official session that's going on, to give him a little hate. But they did the same thing. We didn't talk about it to Ron White. He did a quote unquote Euro swerve, according to the officials on Friday after he was getting blasted from behind by another driver. So he was benched all of Friday, but that was a during session incident, not after the checkered flag incident. So I guess you could call it, I kind of put it this way. I know it's harsh words, but anything after the checkered flag is like an assault, where during the race session is part of racing. So, and so you're going to get a penalty based on that. So, well, yeah, it's not exactly the smartest move for Moya, but he took his punishment and came back on Sunday.
Like most sports, they usually get the retaliation, right? You don't normally get the initial thing. You usually find the retaliation. Anyways, to get back at it, McQueen did win that pre-final. Moya was in second. Caleb Gaffera, who was kind of top 10, top 5 driver throughout the weekend, was third in the pre-final. But David, let's go main event racing as well. Or do you have some notes you want to put in with the pre-final as well?
McQueen had him a great move on the last lap to go from 4th to 1st.
That's right. Coming out of turn number 4, they all tucked to the inside. He went all the way around the outside of turn 5 to get the lead into the S's. That was awesome. Yeah,
so it was a great little move that I think other drivers tried to replicate. Some did, some didn't. Again, it's as we talked about, Rob, with the wins, anytime you went off, and maybe it's just because they don't dust off the racetrack each day. anytime you got out of the groove, I think it was like maybe a groove and a half that you could play with, but anything outside of that was just disastrous and would leave you with no grip. So to be able to pull that off, it helps when they were running a defensive line because you're essentially in the racing line going into the corner, and you can hopefully hold on through the outside. So it was a great move.
So in the main event, Paulie Massimino and Ruben Moya pulling away early, but things got interesting when Massimino started to defend a little bit. And as we know, as I've talked a lot about when it comes to Tucson, that track, the minute you start to defend, you bring all the other groups back in.
Yeah, and I talked with Massimino. He said he made a mistake. He thought the other group was closer. He thought that they were going to be able to mess with Moya when he went defensive. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Moya got the better of Massimino, and the rest of the group did close in, but they went after Massimino rather than Moya. So Moya was able to get away. McQueen got into the second spot, and Moya went defensive into turn 11. McQueen tried to pull the over-under, just came up short at the line. Maybe a little bit of contact through turn 12 between the two, but Moya was able to cross the line first by just 72 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, another top 5 for Chase Hand. Massimino ended up finishing in the 4th spot. Who was P5, David?
I don't know why I didn't write that. Oh, it was Matthew Cagle. I probably went and talked about or had to update the Saturday notes.
Yep.
But yeah, Matthew Cagle came back with another P5, this time with fast lap of the race. So
he was really impressive all weekend.
I was going to say a good performance by the senior rookie.
Yeah, 100% top rookie there, and in the top 5, very impressive run for Matthew Cagle. We've watched him for the last number of years, and a really I would maybe say a national breakout weekend for Matthew Cagle. Excellent job.
And one more note out to Johnny Stamps. He was involved in the horrific. Well, it looked horrific. It was still a pretty gnarly wreck that we had at the start of Saturday's main event. Included Johnny Stamps and Finnegan Bailiff were probably the two of the drivers that got the worst of it going into the tire barriers there prior to turn 1 along the straightaway. But some of the images and the videos that we saw from Johnny Stamps, to be able to go from what he incurred into a top 10 performance on Saturday, that's a great bounce back for him. Shows definitely no fear for him. Yeah,
fantastic recovery on the Sunday for sure. Let's go to KA 100 Junior, presented by TKG Beryl Art USA. Here's the headline. Orbezo and Woon split weekend.
Yeah, Rob, something we haven't talked about, qualifying sessions. The one thing that Superkarts USA has really tried to do is to make these guys go out and pound and get their laps in.
Yep.
That's something that for some reason the KA Junior second group did not want to do. So we had Nathan Ramirez from the slow group pulling off fast time in qualifying, a 53.055. Because I don't think the fast group got a 4th lap. That was one thing we were kind of watching throughout the qualifying sessions. They were playing that stupid game of who was going to be the leader, and nobody wanted to. And thankfully for Nathan Ramirez, he was able to him and both Braden Wagner,
the front row,
going 1-2 from the slow group with Nicholas Orbezo finishing 3rd in the qualifying session. They were able to get 4 laps, but it was bad 4 laps, I guess, is the way to look at that.
Well, you can't make the mistake, right? Because the session is short enough 5 minutes that you've got to get. Was it only 4 minutes? I thought it was 5 minutes.
It's 4.
Are you sure?
Or maybe it's 5.
I think it's 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5. Dude.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter because the one big thing about Tucson is there are some tracks when you leave the grid, you're immediately across the line. Well, when you leave the grid, it's a full out lap around again for majority of the categories on brand new tires for qualifying. Track may be a little bit dirty, you never know, but then you start the first lap. So yeah, they were just doing all that messing around where they try to lean into each other and who wants to be first and who wants to pull away. And yeah, it was wild that first and second, that the top 2 drivers from the slow group ended up still being on the pole position for the pre-final. We thought that was entertaining in the booth. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, quite entertaining. Unfortunately for Ramirez, that was his only high note of the weekend. Broken reed at the start of the pre-final put him on the sideline as he lost power to his KA engine. This allowed Nico Orbezo to go away to the pre-final win ahead of Tristan Murphy and Colton Schniegenberg in the third spot. However, the main event was a barn burner with a large lead pack, lots of action up front. The defining moment was with Tristan Murphy and Nico Katowski up front. They were fighting for the lead. They both made contact in turn 11, pushing off the racetrack and out of the race. This allowed Orbezo to take over the lead and go on to score the race win.
Yeah. Travis Pettit coming home in the second spot. Braden Wagner in third. Remember, he benefited from the issue in qualifying. He ends up P3. Ashton Woon ends up in the fourth spot. Alex Chandler rounds out the top five. But David, a good run for Woon. Ashton Woon coming from deep in the field.
Yeah, he got shuffled back in the pre-final, but was able to fight his way forward. And as you said, up to the fourth spot by the main event finish.
Katowski stepped things up once again. He was a factor throughout the entire weekend. He ended up qualifying on the pole position on Sunday morning. Pettit would come to the forefront. He and Woon would go 1-2 in the pre-final with Katowski in third. But Pettit and Katowski were the two drivers early, David, that broke away in the main.
Yeah, they were. Katowski was quick early on. Pettit jumped out to the lead, but it was Katowski that was the quicker one early on, and he led for a majority of the race. Trying to think what I. Oh yeah, no, I'm trying to think of this race. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my notes and they don't make sense to me. I hate that. But I thought it was just those two guys up front in this one. Or am I thinking of the other class?
Just fast forward through it, David.
No, I'm getting confused because it was Pettit and Katowski both in both classes. So I'm trying to remember how this race unfolded. I can't remember. Oh, now I remember. Okay. So yeah, they were out front. They got caught by a large group that eventually became another just pack of racers for the lead pack. So what do we have? Multiple different leaders eventually. Orbezo was in the lead. Murphy got to the lead. Coming to the white flag, Woon made an outside move for the lead, I believe, ahead of Murphy. I believe that was in turn 11, an outside move. And that was the winning move as Ashton Woon was able to hold off Murphy to the line. Murphy tried a last-ditch effort with the crossover coming to the checker flag, but it was Woon taking the victory by 37 thousandths of a second.
So we had a number of drivers that would block down to the bottom. So for those of you who may have watched the show or didn't watch the broadcast, coming out of turn number 9, you come out of 9 through the S's. It's a downhill run. 10 is really only a kink. It's not really much even in a corner, but down the hill into turn 11, so many drivers would come all the way to the inside, drivers left, to try to defend on the inside to stop somebody from coming to the bottom. If that driver stayed down too long, you saw guys shoot to the right side and then try to carry the outside through turn number 12, as Dave was talking about. And then it's a little bit of an uphill run back from 11 up to 12. And yeah, Ashton Woon, David got that good run, went around the outside, got stick. And hey, when you've got the spot and you got at least maybe half a nose in there, a nose in there, you're halfway through. You've got the inside line to turn 12, and he was able to come with it. Murphy, as you said, tried the over-under, and it wasn't enough. And yeah, Woon coming away with a victory by only 37 thousandths of a second at the line.
Yeah, great. A wild main event. I think at one time Orbezo got kind of shuffled off at turn 12 when he was getting passed for the lead. So that dropped him back. He was able to come forward a little bit there with the craziness at the end of the race. But yeah, it was Woon at the line ahead of Murphy. Nathan Golseth with all the craziness slid himself up into the third spot. It was Pettit across the line in fourth. I didn't write down his penalty, so I was looking that up right now. It was contact, so a penalty for contact. So Pettit went from fourth in the order down to 11th. Orbezo actually crossed the line in fifth as he was able to recover back there. But a disqualification for Orbezo with a unsportsmanlike conduct. I don't know if it was on track, if it was in scale line, where that occurred, okay. But Orbezo was a disqualification from P5. So that shuffled up the top 5 as Cameron Johnson, the junior rookie, moved up into the fourth spot with Alex Chandler picking up another top 5 finish.
Number of drivers doing double duty on the weekend, so you're going to hear several of the same names here as we roll into X30 Junior, presented by Ralston Performance Group. Hence why David Cole a little bit confused,
yeah,
because there's the same names in all the different races. Here's the headline for X30 Junior: Woon gifted win as Pettit redeems on Sunday.
Yeah, we're gonna have to let them double duty. I'm done with it. Pettit. Yeah, those are the two names that we kind of figured going into the weekend. Yeah. And those were the two names up front all weekend long. Pettit was able to strike first with a 50.696 in qualifying and win the pre-final ahead of Tristan Murphy and Ashton Woon. Pettit was able to get away in the main event. Woon came in late, but was unable to really make a charge for it. So Pettit was able to cross the line as the provisional winner. Unfortunately for him, he was penalized 6 seconds for jumping the start. Rob, I didn't catch the start of this race. Again, I'm kind of running back and forth. So I do miss some of the starts. Did you catch this start at all?
I didn't recall it. It caught me off guard as well. You know, the only issue is that the shot that we had for the starts was all the way down in 1. So really, we had a direct shot as opposed to maybe a side shot, so we couldn't see if somebody kind of jumped forward or not. So it kind of caught us off guard as well when we heard about it.
If he's starting on the pole position, I got to assume that he punched off before the starting zone. Before the starting zone.
Well, does he have to wait? Does he have to wait for the green flag to fly before he goes?
No, because they have the punch off zone.
Oh, okay.
So I don't, we've seen this before, Rob. SuperNationals is a great story for this with Lorenzo Travisinato losing the SuperNationals because of punching off before the start cone. So that's the only thing I can think. If the pole position driver is getting a jump start penalty, it's got to be he punched off before the starting zone.
Went too early. So a 6-second penalty drops him down to 4th.
Yeah, so that moved Ashton Woon to the top of the podium, Royce Vega into the 2nd spot, and Tristan Murphy joining them on the podium in the 3rd spot. As you just said, Pettit into the 4th spot, and then Enzo Di Gennaro, the top rookie in the category, finishing 5th on his Paralympic.
There it is. So Woon comes out. Oh, sorry. Oh, that's right. No, there's some. Yep.
Forgot my other note. Nico Katowski crossing the line in the 3rd spot was a DQ in tech. So that did shuffle up the order even more.
Let's go to Sunday now. Woon back at it again, 50.424 in qualifying, but it was Pettit who would work his way to the forefront. In fact, Pettit would come away with the remainder of the wins on the day. He wins the pre-final, Woon 2nd, Katowski in 3rd. Katowski and Pettit, we talked about this before, the same thing they did in the KA category. Those two drivers able to get away early.
Yeah, and they stayed away from everybody. This is the one I was thinking of, where, yes, Pettit was quick early, Katowski was quick early. Pettit saddled in behind him. They were able to keep their distance on the rest of the field. And then Pettit turned on the pace later in the race and was able to pull away to a 1 second margin of victory.
Yeah, very similar to what we saw Joe Turney do in that battle as well for the race win there. It just, you're together the whole time. You're trying to, if you try to battle too early with the leader, if you're second, you're going to find that you bring the rest of the guys in behind. You got to stay clean. You got to stay, in your spot to a certain extent, and then battle over the last couple laps. Pettit, as you said, was just the quicker driver at the end. Katowski still coming home with a strong 2nd place finish. Ashton Woon on the podium again. It's a pretty impressive run through the month for Ashton Woon. Another podium finish for him. Back-to-back podiums, back-to-back top 5s for Royce Vega in the RPG Cosmic, and then Tristan Murphy, same. A couple of top 5s for him in his RPM Tony Kart.
Yeah, great performances. Vega, Murphy, good bounce back for Katowski after that DQ. But yeah, Pettit and Woon are probably the drivers that will be the ones to watch, unless Murphy can break up that duo.
Yeah, we'll see. Number of the same names in the top 5. We'll see if they are able to do the same thing when we get to the Spring Nationals in June at MCC. After another break, when we come back, we'll wrap up the race report with KA Master, Mini, and Micro Swift. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the United States, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. 8 brands under the OTK USA banner are winning races and championships across the country, and national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour, the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, the United States Pro Kart Series, and even more programs throughout the country. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, EOS, and Red Speed have been joined by the Gallard, LN Racing Kart, and CS55 brands. To learn more about a specific product line or to find the OTK USA dealer near you, visit otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. OTK, the gold standard of karting. Welcome back to episode number 166 of the EKN Debrief, back into the race report presented by Parolin USA. Let's go to KA Master, presented by Avinco Tires. Here's the headline. Young Guns prevail as DeLeo doubles in return to SCUSA.
Yes, quite the story in Masters, because, again, you got the old guys getting off my lawn type scenarios of the 30-year-olds coming in to race a legal class. You know, it is what it is. You know, we've all been there. We've all been young. But Brayley Murphy, his master debut, earning fast time in the Saturday qualifying at 53.707. But it was Phil DeLeo, the former Pro Tour champion, that essentially led the rest of the way on Saturday. He and Murphy kind of went back and forth in the main event, but DeLeo was able to hold them off. Both he and Josh Sarge, I can never say his name right. Sarge. In the main event, with DeLeo picking up the victory, his first since, I think, 2012, when he was the Pro Tour champion.
Yeah, right.
In Tag Senior, winning by 0.2 of a second over Murphy.
Yeah, those three drivers were able to get away. It was a good battle for sure. Scott Falcone fought his way back up into the fourth spot. Trevor McAllister finishing in fifth. But a good three-driver battle up front. Sarche and DeLeo were teammates as well at Mach 5. So Murphy kind of had to battle out those drivers. He came back again, Murphy did. Qualified on the pole for a second straight day. Would win the pre-final as well this time over DeLeo with Mario Barrios up in the fight. And Barrios was right there early on in the fight for the main event. But DeLeo just seemed to be the strongest of the field, David.
Yeah, Barrios was able to put DeLeo back into the third spot early, but DeLeo eventually worked his way by both Barrios and Murphy for the lead. Got away to a little bit of a gap, but Murphy was able to run him down late in the race, but just wasn't able to get around DeLeo, as DeLeo won again for a second time by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, almost exactly the same margin as Murphy was right there. Sarche again, same podium. 1, 2, 3. Barrios this time stepping things up to go P4, and Pierce Baldus was the driver who worked his way into fifth position. Let's go to Mini Swift, presented by Mega Power Engines. Here's your headline. Big weekend for Brody leading Nitro Kart.
Yes, Mini Swift was quite a battle all weekend long, but ended the same way both days. Max Santana on the Bennick was able to set fast time in qualifying, a 56.233. In that qualifying session, Mason Brody was back in the 13th position. So that's very noteworthy, as it was Lucas Tarango picking up the win in the pre-final ahead of Superkarts USA Winter Series champion Jake Manalio, with Brody Stoffel, the mini rookie, up into the third spot, while Brody worked his way up into the sixth spot by the end of the pre-final. Brody continued the fast pace in the race conditions as he was able to run down the top three and eventually took over the lead before Westbrook reclaimed the top spot. But Brody was able to grab the lead once again before the white flag and was able to hold on to score his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory by just over 0.1 of a second.
Yeah, it was Brody, Manalio, Westbrook, and Lucas Tarango top four. Hudson Howard coming home P5. You have to note that Westbrook was in there battling, David, with three teammates, right? The RPM Nitro Karts surrounded him in that Bennick. He did a great job. And would actually come back impressively on Sunday as well. Brody, who was 13th in qualifying on Saturday, goes P1 on Sunday with a 55.488. It was actually Max Santana stepping things up in a big way. He and Westbrook, the two Bennick drivers, Westbrook had someone to race with, a teammate as his wingman. Santana comes away with a pre-final win over Westbrook to lock down the pole. Again, it was Connor Lipcup into third. And David, you got another little note here as Brody ended up finishing P7.
Yeah, it was a heated battle in the 10-lap pre-final. Brody got shuffled all the way back into seventh. So as you said, the two Bennett karts were able to go 1-2 with Santana picking up the win over Westbrook. And in the main event, Westbrook was able to break away from the field and eventually run down by Mason Brody once again. So it was those two drivers up front. Westbrook was leading at the white flag, went defensive in turn 11. And Brody pulled an amazing over-under that I didn't think worked. I thought it was Westbrook that won at the line, but it was Brody picking up that last drag race to the line, winning by just 60 thousandths of a second over Westbrook.
I'll say this, where the start-finish line is positioned, if you pushed it down another 50 feet, it would change a lot of things on the over-unders. A lot of guys will do over-unders, and it's not quite far enough down the line for the over-under to work to get that run out. But with the slower karts in the mini category, I think there's more of a run for them because they're obviously a little bit smaller. 0.06 of a second at the line. Brody with a beautiful over-under, as David had said, steals the win away from Dutch Westbrook. Brody Stoffel coming home in third to cap off the podium there. Jake Manalio, another top five. And Aiden Go was pretty impressive throughout the entire weekend. Finally gets a top five that he deserved based on what he showed throughout the weekend.
Yeah, I would have thought we would seen him up front a little bit more, but yeah, just certain things he had to hurdle. And thankfully came away with a top five there. And
the RPM Nitro karts were fast and they were working together. They really were. Yeah. There was three guys up front that were tough, and Westbrook obviously getting the beat on that as well because they were tough for working together. Let's go to Micro Swift presented by Grupo Santana Vega to cap off our race report. Here's the headline. Francisco and Sanders gifted first SCUSA wins after penalties.
Yeah, normally we see great racing in the Micro Swift category over the last number of years, but unfortunately, I don't think quite this was the one to kind of bookmark and keep this weekend as one of those. Andres M. Pena, the CRG driver, was the quickest driver in Saturday qualifying, a 57.559. He, however, got shuffled back in the pre-final. It was Bo Wyatt taking the win ahead of Dusty Strayer and Tristan Francisco, the Canadian, in the third spot. Wyatt and Francisco were able to break away in the main event. Eventually, Francisco, however, lost the draft as it was Bo Wyatt that was able to go on to take the win provisionally. Unfortunately for him, again, another jumpstart penalty by a pole position driver as Wyatt had his win taken away as he was put back into the third spot. Thankfully, with the big gap that they did have, he was only down into the third spot with that 6-second penalty for jumping the start. But that, however, moved Tristan Francisco to the top of the podium for his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory.
Yeah, Jack Katowski coming home in the second position, Bo Wyatt holding on to third, Dusty Strayer and Trey Sanders rounding out the top five. Sanders would come back in a big way on Sunday. Francisco took the momentum from the win, qualified on pole on Sunday morning, 56.202. But it was Trey Sanders.
So, real quick, something we haven't really talked about before was the qualifying differences between Saturday and Sunday, and this was the biggest. If you look at the times, 56.202 on Sunday, it was a 57.559, so over 1.3 seconds quicker on Sunday.
And two big differences. Number one, the wind was huge. The temperature was crazy as well. We didn't really touch on the fact that Saturday morning, it was in the low 60s when we qualified, right? And it took a while even to get up into the 70s because of the wind. Like you talked about the guys having hoodies on. Mm-hmm. We had I want to say it was probably 75 degrees by the time that we qualified on Sunday morning. So maybe a little more grip, maybe less wind in their faces coming through the S's. But yeah, a significant difference there. Trey Sanders, as I said, folks, stepping things up. He won the pre-final over Pena. Francisco was there as well. Jack Katowski, an issue. Penalty dropped him down to P11. But let's talk about the battle in the final on Sunday, David. Big group up front that was trying to stretch away. But as that group battled, as we expected, they added one more driver, Katowski, who started 11th, able to finally get his way up to the fight.
Yeah, I was able to do that. Got up into the fight, ran down the lead group. Bo Wyatt was leading at the white flag, but both Katowski and Sanders were able to get by him on the last lap as they were able to cross the line. Katowski first, Sanders second, and Wyatt in the third position. Unfortunately, Katowski suffered a penalty for contact that dropped him off the top of the podium into the sixth position. That moved Sanders up into the top of the podium to earn his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory. Tristan Francisco was moved up into second as Bo Wyatt was penalized for contact as well. He lost a third position where he crossed the line and was dropped down to seventh in the final order. So it was Sanders, Francisco, Emmett Dalton on the Sodi kart with his first podium finish, Carson Bishop, a Nitro kart in fourth spot, and Shep Sullivan on the Bennick in the fifth position as the final results.
Yeah, as David said, a lot of contact on the racetrack. We saw a number of drivers getting driven off, a lot of contact. So not the best maybe representation of micro Swift racing, as there was a lot of penalties that rolled down. But nonetheless, Tristan Francisco and Trey Sanders coming away with the wins. Let's wrap this thing up after the break, folks. When we get back, we'll do the Constructors' Championship. We'll wrap things up, and I'll give you the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. New to the product lineup is the Stilo Carbon CMR karting helmet. Designed to revolutionize your karting experience, this carbon fiber crafted helmet is among the lightest on the market, without compromising on safety. The Stilo ST5 KRT karting helmet is manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material. The KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The Stilo ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision that is perfect for the youth helmet line. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva rib protector is unlike any other on the market, with a form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. The Carbon Curva 8870 version is FIA homologated and includes a chest protector. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these products and many more to keep you safe on the track. Stilo, any competition, one helmet. Welcome back to the final segment here of this edition of the EKN Debrief as we cap off our coverage of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour WinterNationals. David, let's have a look at the Constructors' Championship and the drivers and the brands, rather, that were able to come away with victories.
Well, Nitro Kart swept the cadet divisions, picking up both mini and micro victories both days. So 4 wins for them led the way. LN Kart, 2 of them by Phil DeLeo, had a total of 3. Alonzo Kart with Joe Turney picked up 2, and then CS55 had 2 victories as well with Ashton Woon, both of those wins. Sodi Kart, Pantano, Tony Kart, and Cosmic all had 1 apiece.
There you have it. Let's wrap things up, David. Only 1 red flag on the weekend. You talked about it. The KA100 Senior Final is kind of messy. The field wasn't lined up coming up, like wasn't fully there. The front maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 rows were together. The rest of the guys were blasting out of turn 12. A couple drivers had an issue coming into turn 1, and all of a sudden, all hell broke loose as the drivers were storming in behind them.
Yeah, talking with Superkarts USA officials after the weekend, they're going to look at their starting procedures a little bit more to try and avoid that scenario again. The way the track's designed, the way they just went green right away. They're going to look at different structures on how to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, they probably could have waved that one off.
Yep.
Listen, you were in the paddock. You talked to a lot of guys at the scales. What's the reviews on the pushback bumper being pulled from a number of the categories?
Yeah, again, Superkarts USA went around talking with the team managers and competitors about that, in especially the Pro X30 category. I don't think we quite had any issues. We had 0 issues that I know of in KA Master. X30 Junior was actually really good. Even though we had 30 drivers in the field, all four of their starts on the weekend were normal. No issues there. Yeah. It was the pro guys, but again, how many of them are really pros? I don't know. So, so we did have mixed reviews there. Some are like, we got to go back. So Superkarts USA is going to keep looking at this. Again, the way the tracks are laid out, some starts are better than others at different racetracks. So again, we got to kind of factor that in. Maybe we need to slow them down. Maybe not go 16 miles an hour into turn one.
Yeah. Start a little later down the line too, possibly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of options. David, you were there for both the Rotax America's Trophy and the Superkarts USA Pro Tour WinterNationals back-to-back weekends at Tucson. What are your thoughts on that? Was that a success, you think?
Well, it was more I was a question for you because I can't tell. I don't know. I feel it was, talking with teams and competitors, they feel it's going to be a good partnership for the future. Again, gives competitors more, a chance to get race competitions in at the racetracks they'll be at. The teams are allowed to, not quite the Orlando 2-month spread that we've done in the past, but at least a back-to-back weekends to where they can kind of set up camp and be there and get in good racing. That's something we've talked about many times, Rob. The Rotax platform provides great racing. We saw that last weekend with the Rotax, and we continue to see that with the IME platform here under Superkarts USA.
Here's one thing. Obviously, the notice from Rotax Worldwide that the grand final is being moved onto the same weekend as the Super Nationals next year. This year, kind of changes things up as well. Will these teams now have different drivers at the Rotax and the SCUSA weekends? If you're planning on going to the Super Nats, are you going to run the Rotax races, right? Are you after a ticket if you can't even go? So that maybe it may bring some other drivers into the teams that realize, hey, I'm going to go after this Rotax ticket because I'm okay missing the Super Nats.
Well, for Ohio, it's those who are there in Tucson because it's those two events. The U.S. trophy or the trophy final at Newcastle will be quite interesting. Maybe we'll see more international drivers there for the I believe the first weekend of August.
Yep. Let's cap things off, folks, with the EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar presented today by Rollison Performance Group. At the Rollison Performance Group, we strive for ultimate success. We're more than just an arrive and drive race team with countless wins on the national and regional level. Our focus is on complete driver development, and that's where the success is fueled. We combine one-on-one coaching, on-track instruction, and intensive data debriefing with unparalleled kart and engine prep. Our program will help you raise your game. We'll take you to the next level. If that's your goal, RPG needs to be your next move. Experience the Rollison difference. All right, David, we got a couple of coverage events coming. We got a trackside event later in June. It'll be a while before we're trackside again. First and foremost, the USPKS, United States Pro Kart Series, getting underway for 2026. The Carolina Grand Prix at Trackhouse Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina, set to go April 10th to the 12th. You and I won't be able to be there, so we'll be doing the best coverage we can possibly get. You get a chance to go on vacation with the family. Much deserved.
Yeah, spring break for high school and middle school kids. So we're heading out to California. So we're going to go cross country with the family and some other families from here. So it'll be a break. It won't be necessarily a vacation because it's going to be busy. So it'll be a break from the routine here at home.
For the national level stuff, we just talked a little bit about the RMC America's Trophy wrapping up at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. That'll be back-to-back weekends there at MCC. We'll be covering the event June 5th, 6th, and 7th there. We will be trackside the following weekend at the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals on June 12th to 14th. My first trip to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati.
Yeah, unfortunately, I will be have family obligations during the RMC America's Trophy. So we'll have, again, a post-weekend report like we will for USPKS in April. So those will be our coverage weekends. And then, you'll be back or be making your first visit to Batavia, Ohio, and get to see what the bailiffs have built.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That wraps things up, folks, for episode 166 of the EKN Debrief, capping off our EKN Trackside live coverage of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour opener for 2026, the WinterNationals at Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Big shout out to Kart CRG USE for being our presenting sponsor today. Thank you so much, folks. We do appreciate it. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.